I'll continue with the theme on how to work with the mind when the afflictions are running. This could be a topic for this lifetime for sure. I'm probably the one that rolled their eyes and pursed their lips at Vinabachoni that she was commenting on yesterday. So I've been investigating how I've been reacting to this structure change that we've created at the Abbey. And the first thing that's so apparent to me is that I'm such a creature of habit. So what that means is that I'm solidifying everything and grasping on it, certainly. Which brings a lot of misery, of course. But it's been helpful to look at how I react to transition, because this is a transition time. And the way that I generally react to that is to prepare for what's to come. And so this is creating a movie in my mind. And its director is the self-centered attitude, of course. And yeah, brings so much misery, gosh, so much misery. And this whole idea of, preparing for what's to come, then this is the I want happiness and don't want suffering part. But it is directed by self-centered attitude. So why this sets up so much misery is because nothing ever rolls out the way you think it's going to in the mind. Nothing. Yeah. If something does, please tell me. Nothing. And of course, gosh, so there's the ignorance. So what I do with this is I approach it two ways. First is with compassion. What I've learned over the years, especially here, is that if I don't start out with compassion, I end up railing against myself, use language that tears me down, beats me up. And I practiced that for quite a long time. And it doesn't work, so don't even try it. Doesn't work. So in thinking about compassion, then I remind myself that everything is in flux all the time, and everyone is trying to create a new norm, and that this takes time and is difficult. And then the last thing about compassion that I came to just this last week, actually, is in terms of it's compassionate to take the time to implement something that's complicated. And being one of the neurotic high achievers, when we roll out something, it's like, well, we're already behind, we got to go to it, and boom, boom, boom. And that is not compassionate. And I saw some train wrecks with myself around that, with not a realistic plan in mind, and trying to get something rolled out before I thought about it very clearly, and just kind of swept up in the energy of getting things going. So I'm slowing down with that process now. Also, decreasing and dissolving expectations is very, very helpful. And if I don't do that, then that's just the fertile ground for judgment and criticism to arise. And so to try to come at things with a fresh mind is very helpful. So when I think about perspective, I think about and pay attention to when my mind gets narrow. And so I feel that in my body a lot, that everything kind of gets tight and closes in. It's like I'm looking at everything through a straw. And when I'm in that state of mind, things don't go well, ever. So I have been trying to consciously open up my perspective, and there's some different ways that I do this. So I kind of work with 5 different things. So the first one is that I try to see the situation from another person's viewpoint, which bumps my attention away from me and all the self-centered attitude stuff, and start looking at it from another perspective. And this is very helpful to just turn that self-centered concern. I also look at the causes and conditions associated with the situation. And in this particular example, it's easy to think, it was for my mind to think, oh, we have to do this, and it's hard, and all these things, and and looking at negative. And when I sat down and really started to think about it, it's like, why did this even come about? That we're reorganizing things. It's because the Abbey is flourishing. There are a lot of people that are coming now. And that means that, we're doing something that's very beneficial and thriving, So it helps to look at the causes and conditions in that way to, again, turn my mind from a habitual way of looking at things to a more realistic way of looking at it. Then dropping my expectations. And the way that I do that is basically when I am in conversation with someone and I feel my perspective narrowing, that I just use some shorthand, I just say drop it. And what that means is drop my self-concern and pay attention to who's in front of me. And so then that is a time and a practice to open my heart and to listen deeply and to think about what is coming from the other person. And that helps to realign the perspective in a more realistic way also, because when we're trying to change something here, one conversation with a person isn't what's going to change the whole thing, but one conversation with a person when I am totally wrapped up in my own deal and closed down and narrow perspective, that's going to affect, very, very clearly. Then the next one, the 4th one, is that I remind myself that I am responsible for my peace of mind. And this one is helpful to my mind. If I put it in a more negative spin, or what I'm not doing, I'll go into too much criticism and judgment, and then get discouraged and or apathetic. This one, however, when I say it this way, then I feel it's more positive and I feel empowered. So I'm going towards something, that I'm responsible for my peace of mind. Oh, goody, let me work with that, And then the last one is that I remind myself that the situation will change, that it's always in flux, but not to go to the point of, again, apathy. So it's always, in a flux, so why bother? Not that one, but everything is always in flux. So align yourself to that. And sometimes I do an absurd thing when I'm in a lot of misery and I haven't been able to move my mind very well. Sometimes I'll say, okay, Jigme, this is the situation now, so you have to make this stay the same for the next week. And I just think that, and then it's like, it's so absurd. It's like I giggle, it's like, and then, it moves something and I can drop it. And so when I think about these ways of working with my mind, first of all, I think about how everybody is so different. Every mind is so unique. And so the methods that Vinabhuchuni uses, that won't work for me. What I do maybe won't work for you. But the beauty of the Buddha's teachings and all of the thought training methods, we all can find methods that will work with our individual mind. And so I'm so grateful for the opportunity to meditate and to analyze and to get to know my own mind, and then to practice these different methods to see what's going to work and what doesn't work. And so really, if I keep my mind open to that whole process, then there really is no reason to be discouraged. There's always a way to move the mind, to turn the mind. And that brings a lot of peace and a lot of hope. So that's a really good thing. Yeah. Thank you.